you are having Shaq on the Viper. Again, a pick that is not necessarily terrible on this map, but it is different, and Jonah P on Chamber. Okay, so this kind of gives you that intention. We talked about this almost an hour ago. Can you set yourself up to kind of bleed out KC, and already Jonah P kicks us off with first blood down in the middle of the map.
Yeah, just the attention of 3 players from G2, all looking at mid. Now that the smoke is gone, you're looking towards Martine to have some presence, and he just gets shot in the head. So, hey guys, they are all in the middle watching that. Do not cross the road. You will get hit by a car. KC just have to set their sights forward. There's not going to be any defense from G2 to hold this back, but there's an exchange. Jonah with now the 3rd kill this round.
Yeah, that's all you need, is you just watch over this cross. Left. You know that the play is now moving over towards A, and G2 in normal G2 form, even in a 5v2, are just going to set themselves up to play with the numbers, then play just a very simple retake here. Sadhak, an opportunity to try to play a little bit scaled forward towards the A site. Splitting the difference here. Sadhak will find first blood. There's the isolation. And yep, Sadhak will surely fall here in a moment as the last 3 members for G2 are making their way around the back. And it will be Trent with the final shots to comfortably win the pistol.
Yeah, it all started with KC just finding some mid presence. Martine kind of getting a sense of where this defense is set up, and just losing Martine, just your main guy.
The closest one, they're playing off the one way. And here we go. Execute going to be coming in the next couple of seconds.
Yeah, and VALORANT can play safe, especially with the Stinger. You have a paranoia, so as soon as KC emerge, 12 seconds, it has to be here and now. The pressure onto VALORANT will at least bring down one with them. Good chance for KC as they pick up that Stinger left by VALORANT. That IGL from G2, and around the corner, Trent is going to try and activate before the rest of the team are in position.
No utility.
Is trying to pressure them back and not let the entry be as easy. And now spotting that Trent is in a one-and-done position. KC worked together to take him down.
Yeah, that was just not a good spot for Trent to be in. No utility remaining, so he's just stuck in a corner. Good isolation on it. And now it's time for the Shaq attack. Able to find the first cleanly. A little bit of a lineup, almost able to find it all. But the Thrifty does come through for KC. Swing the eco around.
It is going to change your approach now for KC, now that G2 do have a buy-up, so you may need to take some time to drone up, check these corners, and really get a lot of usage out of this curveball from Avez, or usually Martine is the one flashing up first, but G2 can insert Jonah P, and he just gets inserted 6 feet underground. So great chance for KC with that first blood.
And that's a Hunter's Fury to isolate the angle, and then finished off as Tour de Force does not connect. Jogma with 1 trade, but feels a little bit minimal, as he has to move quickly on the other side. Aldro makes his way into A, looking for VALORANT behind the boxes once again. Paranoid to give himself a little bit of space. Now you've got the paint shells to once again create a bit more of a buffer, but Jogamo is completely stuck, struggling to get the utility into play, and it once again comes down to the Love Shack for a 1v3.
Not the Love Shack. I love it though, but yeah, there's only so much you can do. Jogamo was caught completely surrounded, and KC, it went from a Thrifty on the anti-eco, or going up against the anti-eco.
You need to show us what exactly is the intention as they, again, just play it through mid freely. And this, again, leads you to believe that for KC, it's going to be free at A. You run it back, you get in early, and this should be a very quick post-plant setup for KC.
Just the run it back plus the Yoru clone, like there's just a lot of fakes happening from KC, but now fully committing down to A, immediate spike plant, and Jonah will be on his way. He's kind of more watching the lurk out of mid with the op, but KC are a very proactive team on the post plant, but are not going to try and extend out of the site. Instead, leave the trip, drone up, see if G2 are there, and are just trying to expect what G2 are doing.
You need info here, because for G2, you're looking at what will likely be Jonah P on a hard scope angle, and then, yeah, it has to be a full flood the other direction. Does this trap wire provide an issue? So far, yes, as Jogamos is getting trapped up and tripped up everywhere, but it still comes down to G2 finding the kills that they need. Elite, the last one left, he's stuck at elbow, and G2 just take the old-fashioned approach. Snowball, get in together, and just work your way through after you block the back of the site. Good retake.
And it's KC kind of getting away from the success that they did in the post plant, where they were...
Deals with the dart and will set his ground here, as the door will keep his aim, very primed up at mid, but Sadhak actually does still try to take the challenge and gets punished for it. 5v4 early for G2.
There's some mid control for KC and trying to punish that. They've identified that Jonah likes to hold that back mid area. Like ever since that 3K from the pistol, KC have been on Jonah watch. How can you get that teleport out of the chamber, and then how can you activate the lurk afterwards? So really being threatening around mid as G2 are trying to play close attention.
Well, keep an eye here on how deep G2 got through A while all that action at mid had happened. This should be just a dissect to the B site and a post plant somewhere near the front.
And you had ears from Aves around mid to either go towards spawn or just kind of join for the market, flood in, and Shaq will be the anchor. He has flash, he does his best to look away, but it's only death that he sees, and Trent is following suit as well. 13 seconds, and KC have this on lock, it seems. Yeah,
really, really good execute there from KC, but Shaq, you thought maybe had done enough, just getting that spam. Elite not able to get into the site through that Viper's wall, but on the site itself, things trend in favor of KC. Trent, first corner, most important one. Not going to have it. Martin just playing the angle. Will find the headshot, and it'll be a 5-2 start here for KC. B still looking very problematic, though, for KC, and they're going to back off and likely head over to the direction of Martin, who's working on elbow with a potential 1v1 in front of him with Trent. Big pick.
And now trying to cross over with the spike is definitely the lead is gone. Jogamo, an insane 3K, and also to get the spike down, that has sealed the round. Yeah, absolutely has. I love the call to pull out the showstopper there too, knowing that it's not just going to be one player lurking through mid. You need this round. It's an important one. You get it. You also just do a little bit of dance with that cyber cage that was tossed out by Elite. You saw the pre-aim looking up. Instead, it's out. The wide blast back for Jogamo allows him to go 1v3 essentially.
Portal closed.
Martin going to try to work his way around the back to see if he can find some punish. No reason to not try to force some repurchases here with the cash that he's got in hand. But likely the chances at winning this round are going to be a little bit low. Shaq will fall. Information now gained for G2 that if he's going to do anything, it will be around back buyer spawn, and they're just going to back away and value saving the 3 rifles.
Or activating a lurk that's very, very far away from the rest of the team. And I think Jonah P has really identified that. He's been on lurk watch against KC. KC are playing very much together. So I think if you early pit on one of the sites, that would make a lot of sense. And now it's actually an aggressive swing out of G2 to check out B main, get that info early, but you got to trade it out.
Trade's fine. That's the same status over the top of the B site. But, yep, that's going to call the Viper Split to be used, because now you want to try to stack your resources in a different direction. Curveball out. Valen in some trouble, has the paranoid to get himself away. Hot Hands doesn't really do too much in terms of damage, and Jojimo, timing here is everything. Only finds one for the effort, and now mid-map is a problem, and that means that Shaq is completely out of the picture here.
Or wrap around the backside of A, use that firewall from the Phoenix to kind of isolate what angle you're looking at one step at a time. But KC are now going to be able to plant at B, just getting around this pit, but then you won't be able to play from B main unless you deal with Shaq.
Huge. That's a huge pick from Trent, able to find a lead. Nightfall's going to get called. Is going to be found on that. They do not get the information though on Martin, who is trying to figure out what's happening in the pit, but may not make much of a difference here for a 1v3 situation. He's going to find this elimination quickly. Yep, and then get to work, because everyone is all over this site. He's found himself some real estate to work with. Valen looking for the angle and finds it perfectly. A 1-round difference as G2 bring us to a 4-5 count.
I just want to see KC play from main a little bit more, whether it's from the corridor of A, that A hallway, or B main.
For G2, knowing where their vulnerabilities are, they're heavy rotating back to mid to deal with that, and it's worked out nicely for them to get back into this game.
Joke's over. You're dead.
Okay, there's the running back, the clone, just a lot of disruption from KC. So getting into the site hasn't been a problem, and I think G2 just try to play away from those smokes, and okay, well, Jonah P is deadly, and I think KC have to be aware of that.
Well, the thing about this is KC have the advantage of the backside of the site because of this is their one way, so you get the Phoenix back. You now have the ability to set someone up on this trap wire rather than playing on the front side of the site. But G2, once again, same setup, 4-man hit on the retake, all of them coming over towards this back A alley. Now you have a chance for him to try to get to work, but Shaq with the fine first blood. Jojimo follows up. Hunter's Fury is desperate in nature, but can it kill the time? And maybe even better, Sadok's able to find 2. 1v3 situation, needs to have the ace on top of that, but Shaq is holding for the defuse. Can Sadak find the angle in time? He gets one tag, but the spike gets defused, and there will not be enough time for him to find the consolation ace. The eco's still fine, at least in this round for KC, but having used the run it back and not finding the success that they were hoping for onto A, it does put some pressure to try to get something going, and they already create a first blood early enough for Elite to find a body for the neural theft. And that should lead to them making a commitment here in terms of, we know where everyone is, where do we want to take our numbers? The snake bite providing some vacancy for Shaq to work with, trying to spam through the dark cover, but firewall goes up, and KC moving their way into B.
And Shaq would be just pushing past this smoke and has a duel against Elite, which can open up market and weaken things even further for KC. That's a big win for Shaq. And now KC have to pay attention, but at least playing from B main, they have some space to fall back and play in safer positions. This Viper Wall from Shaq, though, is going to be a problem. If he brings that up, it'll force KC to play within the site, but they're just looking at the front door, and Jogamo with the showstopper off in the corner. An easy splash, he gets two, but KC still have Martin and Zadak.
Backside of the site, Martin's been very safe. He has an idea where Shaq is. Little wiggle, little wag. Killing time right now, though, is KC. All down to Sadhak. 8 HP, but does have both shock darts, hearing all the footsteps. Does he find the ability to line them all up? There's the first, there's the second. No one expects him to be lurking on the site. It's a 1v2 clutch, and KC retake the edge. You're not setting up your post plant for market. You know that the defense of G2 has to rotate, and you don't want to put yourself in a position to take that contact at market. You want to set yourself up through B main. But now we want to get into the conversation here, which is Martin on the hunt, and Trent just absolutely ran down for first blood. But look at the position for G2, playing really aggressive through mid. So that means that KC cannot necessarily follow up on that first blood. But with G2 losing their defender on B, this is one of those moments where will the element of surprise be enough for them to get back into the site?
I've been finally waiting to see kind of some solo plays out of KC, playing that double duelist, and Martin just pulling 3 players of G2 towards the right side, allowing KC to have a sense of safety. They extend through the top side. Now they only have to worry through main, and that's KC just kind of dotting the I's, crossing the T's.
This is a difficult post-plant setup right now, though, for KC. They do get a really solid reveal through B main, and that makes life extremely easy. Let's say for a moment you might get trapped with Jogamo trying to pinch back through the defensive spawn, but now he's by himself. Jogamo able to find the first, but nothing more behind that. A 7-5 half for KC, doing what they need to keep an edge early.
Very confident he could get those one-on-one trades, and even going for market, not sitting back and waiting for G2 to rotate with him, but we'll see how G2 now can activate with a raise setup with Jogamo. Well, okay, bye, Jonah P.
It's another one of those things, though. Like, this is what G2 are defaulting towards. When you play a chamber like this, you're looking for first blood success. And not to say that it hasn't been there, but it hasn't been as significant as you would hope for if you're G2. So now you're just playing off this 4v5 post plant. There's the flash to give you the indication of that retake. Paranoia to counter. And KC will have to kind of set themselves up and likely use Martin as an entry point behind this Sovidrome.
Just G2 very happy to get those flashes out of the way and maybe even baiting that out, playing as close to the corner as they could to fall back when needed. Now G2 were aggressive, but wait, Elite with a big double kill coming through market with the rest. Sugetsu 2 places the smoke, gets the defuse, and you got kind of a crossfire from G2 to try and prevent this, but the firing squad from KC is too strong, and they get the pistol.
And that's just another one that you use the numbers to your advantage. You know you're likely going to be giving something away by forcing so much action through mid off the get-go.
Just KC being able to punish these lurks from Jonah P, getting that critical damage before he's able to teleport out has been huge. Now G2 just going to have double prowlers. They had one to get through B main, one that's not as deep towards the back, but you got also Martin assisting with Elite. And well, the Marshal's not going to be as cute close range like that. Big stinger buy from G2. They're known for those forces in the anti-eco or going up against it. And they just try to run it down against KC, who are just ready for this level of aggression. G2 did exactly that in the previous round.
Yeah, love that in terms of a design for an execute for G2. You drop a deep Viper's wall, you throw in the Paranoia later than you would expect because you're getting information from Trent. You throw out the Haunt, you throw out the Seize, you throw out a Prowler, whatever you need to try to clear that early space, and then you just snowball with the Stingers. Sadhak fighting back though. Spike has not been planted, 2v2, and Jonah's just playing with a Headhunter in classic combination, but he does connect over towards market, leaving Sugetsu by himself in the 1v2.
Such good awareness from KC to hear that spike get picked up. Once that Viper wall was up from Shaq, he thought he just had a second to get around to safety, but still get the plant off. 1v1, Sugetsu versus Valid, and it's G2 that get the round.
Huge stuff for G2 to recover. That's something that KC will have to keep in mind. It looks like they're going to deal with that by just having Elite playing a different corner. First blood perhaps, but responded by Trent. Do they recognize that Martin is here? Oh, they're going to confirm it with the Prowler. It just comes down to, will they actually commit? No, they don't need to because he will gate crash back to safety.
It's like the second time now this half that KC have early peaked at mid and have found punish on G2, just ego swinging into them, and it's not working out. KC are deadly with those pistols. They already had a thrifty against G2's anti-eco in the first half, so still G2 have recollected the spike and now have starting to lean towards A once that smoke goes down.
Tough battle there, though, for Jonah. Now has KC collecting a rifle, and with numbers, could again just back off and play for retake in the 4v2. Recon bolt deleted, but at least reveals onto one. And for Shaq and Jogamo, this is tough because you want to try to clear space out, but you also want to give yourself some sort of a Alamo to stand on. And as Shaq will fall, it just comes down to Jaw. Trying to get it done with the Guardian, and yeah, just shoulders playing with them as everyone else is starting to make their way over. But hold on a second, they're not actually putting themselves in a position to play for trades, but no exit for Jogamo. And KC will take the round.
It's not the first time Jogamo has been caught between a rock and a hard place, trying to push that angle and then have that that lurk from Elite find his way behind. So
that's one of those situations that G2's changing their identity a little bit in terms of what they're putting together, not having Leaf in the picture, and it's costing them right now down big.
Ooh, just satcheling in, no paranoia from Valen, and G2 not being able to trade. That was an issue they had even at Masters, but hey, there's the trade. KC kind of overstaying their welcome and not playing around the box close enough to go back to safety. Not maybe thinking G2 where everyone is going to be around that corner.
Yep.
So run it back does expire.
The space is what you're looking for because it's not just the pressure at A. You've also got Elite on a comfortable route through B main, looking to trap things up over at Tiles. And this will be a backstab of the ages where Elite's going to be just foaming at the mouth. If he catches the timing, hold on a second, he misses the timing here.
Bit of a ring around the rosy from Elite, and he's been working on those lurks round after round. Not so much in the first quarter of this game, but really activating and punishing people like Jogamo, which great first blood yet again for KC off of that.
Trent gets caught. Yeah, Sugetsu just walks forward. The more space that Elite was able to take, the more that KC realized this was going to be a B hit. And clearing out market
30 seconds left.
Now has Shaq. Would have to be a 1v4. Sugetsu, first one, dealt with cleanly. But with 20 seconds on the clock and no spike, you're looking just to get out of here and save this weapon, staring down the barrel of a 6-11.
But if you lose this, you go to your last life in groups, and no one wants to see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just looking at Stage 1 in Masters, Trent averages a 1.26 KD. He's 5 and 13. He also has an average 80% cast percentage, and he's just not been a factor. Some of it, again, just off of the fact that they're playing odd number situations over and over again. Even right here, he used the Nightfall to try to get into the site, but they don't expect the cyber trap to come in. Hunter's Fury to follow is going to find success, and KC could do no wrong.
G2 got nothing out of the Showstopper and the Nightfall. They kind of sectioned the site, and Elite just chose the perfect time to come in and get that headshot on the G2. We're just going to trail behind even more. What a showing out of KC, and that's going to be almost all she wrote, 12-6. I don't think anyone expected a scoreline like this.
No, not at all. And on a map that, again, you're looking at a best of one, so. And even right there, it's just not clearing and crossing our T's and dotting our I's. We're getting trapped up by Cypher, who is essentially solo holding B.
I think it's everything rides on what I was gonna say Jonah P could do in mid. He's been trying to get those first bloods, but it's gone usually KC's way. And Jogamo, Valen, 2 huge stars from G2 have been dimmed. The spike is down. G2 have to play against it and against a curveball, which this is not something you scrim against every day. And now you're getting zoned off by Molly, so you can't even play off the C's. Yep. So that's tough.
I mean, look at the setup. Elite, again, knows that no one's playing inside of B, so I'm just going to step up. It allows Sugetsu to know he just has to worry about the mid flank. And you can continue to just reset this one-way smoke on the corner where you know where the spike is down. So everything is sitting up nicely here for KC. Jonah needs to hit a shot. I mean, flat out. He needs to connect here. Viper's put to put some pressure, but again, good call here. KC going to drop the firewall, push in, and you got the long flank on the way. Shaq's in trouble. You need to get some help from Jonah right now, and there it is.
And the more time it takes from G2, the more that Elite can just start to creep his way behind. And if Shaq decides to play out of his pit, he's going to be cooked, and Elite can safely just hunt for this Viper's pit and really ruin G2's chances of coming back into this game. But it is only 3 versus 2 for KC, and Elite is trying to seal the deal and put the nail in the coffin. And that's all she wrote. KC win the best of 1.
Unreal start for KC. And again, I know it comes on the backside of G2 playing with a vulnerable roster,